There you are, all finished.
Thanks. Storm's gonna kill me. Hey TCSTV viewers, it's Evelyn.
And Dave from the camera store. Today we're talking about the Fujifilm XF10.
Yes, now this camera promises to be a great everyday camera that you can throw in your pocket or bag. Doesn't have a lot of options on the outside of it to choose from, but it's something that you can just bring around with you.
Now we recently took it to a tattoo parlor where the owners of the camera store got inked.
Yes, and for the record, I did not get inked with the camera store logo, at least anywhere that I'm willing to show you guys. But we thought it would be great to test it out, and we also brought it around downtown Calgary. There was a lot of things that we liked about this camera.
And a lot of things we don't.
Yeah, so let's get into it. When you first look at the XF10, you're gonna think this is a really simplified camera. It's extremely minimalist, and some of the purists are gonna love that. The touch screen is where you're gonna do most of your function changes and your autofocus selection. It also has an autofocus joystick on the back as well. Now the lens, it's an 18.5mm f2.8 fixed focal length lens, which gives you a 28mm equivalent, about the same viewpoint that your cell phone gives you. So I think cell phone users will find this really familiar, especially if this is gonna be your pocket camera that you're going to whip out just like your phone. The only difference is, of course, you're shooting with that APS-C sensor, so your images are going to be that much better in terms of the quality.
As Ev was saying, this is a pretty minimalist design camera, and I like that for a camera of this size. I have the black version, and Evelyn is shooting with the champagne golden brown version. It's a little more stylish, I guess. The camera itself, it's laid out quite well. It encourages you to get out of program and to use the manual controls, and with that I've got exposure compensation on the top here, I've got my shutter speed here, a joystick on the back, and also a ring on the front here, which I use primarily for focusing but can be used for the teleconverter.
Did you get any good shots over here?
This bit me.
What? He bit you?
Well, I was kind of in his face.
Let's see. Oh my god, yeah, of course he bit you, you idiot.
All right, so I got a little too close to a goose, but let's talk about the autofocus on the XF10. So Fuji gives you 91 autofocus points to choose from, and I like how they've done it. We've seen it with other cameras in their lineup where you can choose a single autofocus point, or you can expand that autofocus square to as big as you want for whatever subject you're shooting. This works quite well, but my problem with this camera is that the autofocus speed is very sluggish. When I want to take a picture of a goose that's about to bite me or something in the distance, there's always this hesitation. It sort of focuses beyond and back, and then beyond and back. Whatever system they've implemented in here, it's a bit sluggish. It drives me a little bit crazy. Because of that, I've been using the snap focus quite a bit, and this is cool because it allows you to pre-focus at 2 meters or 5 meters. And I like this quite a bit. It certainly speeds up the focusing because it doesn't have to focus anymore, but there's still a bit of a lag. And I find that a bit crazy. When I'm shooting street, I want that moment. I want that decisive moment that I capture, and I'm finding I have to time that. The autofocus is perfectly usable if you can accept these delays, but it's something you have to get used to.
So the XF10 is set up for video. Now the 4K mode can only shoot at 15 frames per second, which is basically unusable. It's the same as the XT100, but they do have a decent 1080 mode. You can shoot some slow-mo if you want, and there is a mic jack. It's a 2.5mm, so you will need an adapter. But the weird thing is there's no hot shoe, so you can't really attach a mic to it like a shotgun mic. I guess you could hold one, put it in a cage, or you could wire a lav mic directly into the camera. But again, since it doesn't have that articulating screen, I can't see this being a really good vlogger camera. So it's kind of like some half-baked video features when you think about it. Now that being said, for the 4K mode, there is a good use for it. You can shoot a 4K burst mode, give you 15 frames. So if you're shooting, say, this bird here, and you want to get it in flight, you're able to shoot the 15 frames in the burst mode, and so that you don't miss the moment.
All right, Ev, what do you think of the touchscreen?
You know, I think the touchscreen is pretty good. It's not as fast as some of the competitors. There's a little bit of lag to it, but in terms of like a smartphone navigation, I think it's pretty similar. You can swipe, you can pinch, you can drag, all that kind of stuff.
I like the fact, well, I can choose the autofocus point from the screen. Touch,
Yes,
touch, touch was
yeah.
quite good there.
And you can touch to shoot as well.
Which is a pretty cool feature. I do like that.
For me, probably the best thing about the XF10 is that you get to take advantage of Fujifilm's color science and their gorgeous JPEGs. Their dynamic range is always amazing, and they really have nice skin tones, and I just love the files right out of camera. Now that being said, I have to admit something to you guys. On most cameras, I pretty much never use the creative filters, but with Fuji, I do. And I don't know if that's because it's the nostalgia of the classic chrome film, Provia, Velvia, or even some of the black and white modes. On the XF10, you even have a new Monochrome Near-Infrared mode, which I used to shoot with Rolly infrared film all the time. And I love the look of it. In plant life, you get this really nice texture to your images. And so that to me is one of the great selling features of an XF10 is in an affordable compact camera, you get to take advantage of Fuji's film simulation modes and their amazing JPEG files.
Ev, we've had the camera for a little while. What do you think of it so far?
It's okay. I mean, it is so simplified down, and I think too much so for me. And there's a couple of features on it that I think are lacking.
Yes.
The continuous autofocus is a bit of an issue.
I'm finding it's very sluggish and it drives me crazy. It's like,
Yeah.
Right? And even if in the snapshot mode, which I really quite like, I find there's still a bit of a lag and it's driving me a bit crazy and I'm missing a few shots just by that half second. Now whether that would have made a difference or not in my shot, I'm not sure.
Now, do you think that the square mode makes up for it?
The square mode, I don't really care about actually. I know all the Instagrammers out there are like, no, we love it, but I don't think there's a need for it. You're gonna go through this anyways. You're gonna crop it on your phone if you download it through the Wi-Fi app. I'd rather work with it in post-production anyways.
Overall, this is probably not my favorite camera.
No, no, it's got a lot of Fuji familiarity to it, and I do find it's fun, and it encourages you to kind of get out of the scene recognition mode and the program modes and play with some manual features and play with some filters. But it is capable of delivering some pretty decent image quality, but overall, I just find it's missing something. There's a lack of passion with this camera.
We hope that you guys enjoyed our review of the Fujifilm XF10. Let us know what you think about it by commenting below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe.
And I love getting likes on my Instagram account, so make sure you follow us there.
We'll catch you guys again soon.